Contrary to some beliefs that the vital force of the male psyche finds its most vivid expression only in the first 2 decades of life, Robert Moore recognized the profound transformation that can blossom in the second half of the journey. Just as the king, archetype of maturity, traverses the life cycle, our journey also unfolds in distinct phases, reflecting the power of archetypes. Youth, with its promise of becoming and raw energy, mirrors the pure stage. Maturity, in its vigor and responsibility, reflects the king. And old age, with its serene wisdom, symbolizes the sage. Robert Moore also visualized life in 4 archetypal stages: the athlete, the warrior, the magician, and the king. These stages reflect the development of mature masculinity, the integration of the self. The athlete, immersed in the unconsciousness of youth, represents the initial stage. The king, the integrating center of the psyche, is the highest stage, where we touch the essential meaning of our masculinity. However, we cannot reach the fullness of the king without first traversing, or at least acknowledging, the preceding stages. Although these stages don't rigidly align with the chronology of life, those who surrender to the natural flow of male psychic development, seeking the integration of the self, will naturally experience this archetypal sequence. The maturity of the male soul is not a sudden event, but a gradual process of individuation, a journey that leads us through these 4 archetypal stages of masculinity. In this video, we will explore each of these stages in detail, illuminating the path to integration and the flourishing of the male soul, according to Robert Moore's insights on archetypes. 1. The athlete stage. Robert Moore observed, "It's remarkable how a life lived entirely from the puerile ego becomes superficial and empty, not only for the individual, but for everyone around them." The athlete stage is the stage of the immature ego, the puerile mask we present to the world. In Robert Moore's depth psychology, the ego is the mediator between the conscious and the unconscious, the source of our personal identity. However, an inflated ego, dominated by the pure, traps us in narcissism, in the illusion of separation. At this stage, excessive concern with physical appearance and a lack of empathy for others reveal the immaturity of the male soul. This stage often coincides with adolescence and early adulthood, although many men remain trapped in this dynamic throughout their lives, imprisoned by the energy of the poor. According to Robert Moore, the ego gradually emerges in childhood as islands of consciousness in the ocean of the unconscious, consolidating in puberty. Children predominantly inhabit the realm of the unconscious, immersed in what Robert Moore called a fusion with the mother, a deep union with the maternal unconscious. These ephemeral moments of consciousness, like flashes in the darkness, are the islands of consciousness. Puberty, in Robert Moore's view, marks the separation from the maternal unconscious, the awakening to male individuation. The athlete, therefore, dominates adolescence, a period of profound physical and psychic transformations. In this phase, we seek to define our masculine identity, shape our ego, and it's natural to become more self-conscious, even self-centered, in this process of self-discovery. Adolescence is a challenging period, for many men the most difficult of their lives. A fragile ego dominated by the pure, unable to cope with external pressures, intensifies the difficulties. Although self-centeredness is an obstacle in adult life, in adolescence, a healthy ego is essential to navigate the future challenges of masculinity. We need a solid sense of masculine identity without losing ourselves in the labyrinth of the puerile ego. In adolescence, insecurity about the body, shyness, and vulnerability to external judgments are common. A weakened ego, unable to defend itself, intensifies suffering. To overcome these challenges, it's fundamental to cultivate self-love, accepting the transformations of the body. Practices like sports, martial arts, and physical activities help us inhabit the body with more presence and acceptance. Movement releases energy, flooding us with a sense of well-being. This vital energy calms anxiety and strengthens self-confidence. The inner athlete invites us to celebrate the body, to find pleasure in movement, not only in adolescence but throughout life. However, it's crucial not to let ourselves be imprisoned by the puerile ego. We need to integrate the vitality of the athlete without succumbing to self-centeredness. If we remain in this stage for too long, excessive concern with appearance and a lack of empathy prevent us from progressing on the path of male individuation. Genuine self-confidence allows us to transcend the puerile ego and embrace the next stage of maturity, the warrior. 2. The warrior stage. Paraphrasing Robert Moore. A man is defined by his actions, not his words. The warrior represents the stage of action, of building, of conquering. It's the time to build a career, seek financial security, and leave our mark on the world. We assume responsibilities, set goals, visualize the future, and strive to develop the necessary skills to achieve our objectives. In the natural course of life, this stage usually coincides with the beginning of adulthood. We learn to fight for our dreams, to mold ourselves in the face of challenges. The warrior confronts the puerile ego with the demands of reality, which, as Robert Moore observed, can shatter childhood dreams. The transition from academic life to the professional world can be smooth or turbulent. Unrealistic expectations, excessive optimism, negative attitudes, and a lack of action can hinder this passage. According to Robert Moore, resistance to abandoning childhood, the desire to remain unconscious, without responsibilities, clinging to the childish ego, can prevent us from fully embracing the warrior stage. Robert Moore's deep psychology reveals that a part of us longs to remain in childhood, rejecting everything that is unknown, challenging, or uncontrollable. Research indicates that many men, the journey of the male soul, as Robert Moore teaches us, unfolds in cycles, reflecting the archetypal dance within us. We often observe individuals who, even as adults, carry with them the innocence and dependence of childhood, like dormant seeds yearning to bloom. They are souls imprisoned in mature bodies, avoiding the weight of responsibility, seeking refuge in the shadow of family heritage, instead of nurturing their own creative potential, the hard work that nourishes the male soul. To break free from this cocoon, courage is needed, the audacity to abandon childish patterns and embrace reality with feet firmly planted on the ground. Defining the north of one's own journey, recognizing the skills that need to be honed, choosing battles wisely, without sacrificing moral integrity in pursuit of illusory shortcuts. Imagine, for example, the young male soul emerging from university, his heart vibrating with the dream of being a successful entrepreneur. And then he encounters the resistance of the material world, the difficulty of consolidating his business in the market. Harsh reality confronts him with the possibility of having overestimated his abilities, of having clung to a dream with the force of an embrace. A change of direction can be painful, but the resilient soul finds alternative ways to nurture its creativity. A job can sustain the body while the soul hones its skills. The search for new opportunities can open new doors, new perspectives. Persistence and action, an act of courage and self-affirmation, can fuel the inner flame. In the warrior stage, persistence is fundamental because the journey towards full realization and happiness is long and winding, full of challenges that impel us to constantly restart, to be reborn from the ashes of what we were. Robert Moore guides us in this understanding. There is no mistake in pursuing childhood dreams, even if initial resources are limited. The essential thing, as Moore reminds us, is not to feel deserving of achievements without the sweat of labor, tireless dedication. Dreaming is only the first step. Realization requires action, the immersion in the concrete world. The warrior stage, fundamental archetype in Moore's vision, is the time to roll up our sleeves, hone our skills, and build solid foundations for the professional and financial future. It is time to affirm our presence in the world. This battle, however, is not limited to the professional sphere. It extends to relationships, to the search for a partner who resonates with one's own soul. We navigate encounters and disappointments, learning to decipher the mysteries of love, to recognize the reflection of ourselves in the other as mirrors of the psyche, according to Moore. The more we dedicate ourselves to self-knowledge, the more clarity we gain in choosing the ideal partner. The journey becomes lighter when we abandon unrealistic expectations, when we offer the love and respect we wish to receive, cultivating the reciprocity that Moore so emphasizes. The warrior stage, as Robert Moore teaches us, is a portal to maturity, a period of intense inner work, of confronting shadows and integrating repressed aspects. If we navigate wisely, we reap rewards on several levels: material, emotional, and spiritual. If we follow the perspective, building on Robert Moore's work on the archetypal journey of human life, the culmination of this stage is midday, the peak of our active capabilities, the fullness of masculine energy. 3. The stage of affirmation. As Robert Moore reminds us, where love reigns, there is no will to power. Love here is understood as the force that integrates opposites, transcending mere possession. The stage of affirmation is when empathy blossoms, compassion guides us, and our gaze turns to others with genuine concern. In Moore's view, this stage coincides with the beginning of the second half of life, the midday of our journey, when the sun shines most intensely, illuminating the need for connection and care. If the first half is marked by the struggle for professional and personal achievement, the affirmation of the warrior, the second half invites contemplation of family relationships, the legacy we will leave the world, and spiritual aspirations, a movement of integrating feminine energy. It's the period when we build families, dedicate ourselves to providing fulfilling lives for our children, expanding our perspective beyond the individual ego to embrace the community and the world. The needs of others take precedence. Love surpasses the pursuit of personal power in a dance of reciprocity and care. During this stage, the soul, according to Moore, undergoes subtle transformations. Some characteristics dissolve, others, dormant since childhood, re-emerge with renewed strength. Even gender identity can transmute, with men integrating receptive, feminine energy and women embracing active, masculine strength, both psychologically and in personality expression. This metamorphosis can be intense, manifesting as the midlife crisis, a necessary process of transformation. The more attached we are to personal goals, career, and the inflated ego of the warrior, the more turbulent this passage becomes. Some, clinging to the warrior stage, resist the importance of meaningful relationships, family building, and a legacy that transcends physical existence, remaining imprisoned in the cycle of conquest. It's crucial to understand, as Robert Moore shows us, that a brilliant career without the foundations of affection and deep connections leaves a void in the soul. Professional recognition quickly fades after death. Memory erases like footprints in the sand. To leave a lasting mark on the world, we must look beyond the ego, cultivate relationships that nourish the spirit, and connect with the archetype of the king. Building a family, raising loving and conscious children, mentoring new generations, and donating to worthy causes are all paths to expanding one's legacy. A declaration of love to the world, an expression of the mature king's generosity. Our life is finite. Limiting ourselves to earthly existence is a prison for the soul, a denial of the human potential for transcendence, as Moore affirms. Expanding our vision, aspiring to a legacy that resonates beyond our passing, is the invitation of the stage of affirmation, the call to full maturity. 4. The stage of spirit. Robert Moore reminds us, he who looks outward dreams, he who looks inward awakens. The inward journey is the search for essence, for the self. In the stage of spirit, after building a career and defining a legacy, our gaze turns inward toward profound introspection. We understand that we are more than material achievements, social roles, and emotional bonds. The spirit yearns to transcend the limits of earthly life, to connect with the greater mystery. This stage, in Moore's view, coincides with the twilight of existence, the sunset of our journey, the time of wisdom. Robert Moore understood that even in old age, with the challenges of health and declining physical abilities, new opportunities for spiritual growth emerge. Old age is not decline, but a new stage of initiation. The soul yearns for its completeness, and Robert Moore guides us to recognize that old age, far from being a decline, is a portal to the essence of being, to the archetype of the magician. As he teaches us, nature, in its profound wisdom, would not grant us this longevity if there were not a sacred purpose to be unveiled, a final stage of individuation. Old age, therefore, is not mere prolongation, but an initiation, an invitation to encounter one's own soul, the source of inner wisdom. Robert Moore encourages us to contemplate death, not with fear, but with the reverence we dedicate to the sacred, whatever form it takes in our lives. For those who feel the weight of unrealized achievements, this gaze toward the horizon of existence can be painful, fraught with remorse. Moore warns us against fixating on the past, preventing the alchemical transformation that precedes union with the spirit, with the totality of the self. From a psychological perspective, this journey towards the spirit is a return to the collective unconscious, the home of our true identity, as Moore describes. Old age, then, becomes a reunion, not with the ego, that mask constructed over the years, but with the authentic self, with the spirit that dwells within us, with the archetypal power of the magician. To navigate these deep waters serenely, we must acknowledge the transience of the roles we play in life. As Moore teaches us, children follow their own paths. Emotional bonds dissolve in the dance of impermanence, and the body, this earthly dwelling, will one day return to the earth. Understanding that we are more than this physical form, that an invisible web connects us. The collective unconscious to which we return after death is a sign of profound maturity, of the integration of the magician archetype. Conversely, clinging to worldly roles, to the illusion of control, to the demand for the constant presence of those we love, is to miss the precious opportunity to connect with the true self, with the spirit yearning to manifest in its fullness. This connection with the essence of being opens the doors to life's mysteries, to the understanding of our individual purpose, to the wisdom of the inner magician. It is the culmination of the individuation process, the harmonious dance of all the archetypes of our psyche, as Moore describes. Achieving this maturity is essential, as it allows us to transcend the material world and immerse ourselves in the vastness of the greater reality of which we are all a part. And so, with Robert Moore's wisdom illuminating our path, we continue in our quest for wholeness. Thank you for your presence, and until our next encounter.